Yo, what is up? What's poppin'? You know it ain't no stopping. It is your boy, the International Sensei, and welcome to the Entity Dojo podcast, your source for every damn thing. Of course, keep it right, keep it tight, and above all, please talk to me nice. And I know y'all like my mic flows, but it's time to talk about some Taekwondo. I have done Taekwondo since age 13. I have a second degree black belt in Taekwondo. I've been doing it for many years, and one of the things that I've noticed is like how the game kind of changed. I mean, the game changed on me relatively quickly because I got in at like the middle point when they were like just starting to do what's like electronic scoring. I mean, they have it in fencing and things, and that's like really the only other like contact sport where they have like electronic scoring. And one of the things that I noticed is how different the game was. Like I stopped competing when I was about 18. Like I went to my like last state championship. I placed in it. I was supposed to go to nationals, but I just was not. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was just like, look, I don't enjoy Taekwondo. I don't like how the. I didn't like how the fighting was, how it was becoming. Um, I just wasn't. I just wasn't into it anymore. I'm glad I took that break just because like I see how a lot of my other teammates are having to recuperate from being in Taekwondo like their entire lives, especially back when it was an actual like combat sport. Nowadays, it's just like kind of like crappy point fighting. So one of the things I noticed was like I left for a while, I came back, and I saw how almost cheesy the fighting style became of like Olympic Taekwondo sparring. So I'm not talking about the art itself. The art itself is great. If you want to learn the art itself, I think that is perfectly fine. But the Olympic style like of sport Taekwondo has just become so garbage. And even I would say even like years ago, I mean, you didn't really and even like in now in like the modern era, you don't really hear a ton about Olympic Taekwondo because it's just not that it's not that entertaining. Number one, except for like a couple guys, and then it's not that transferable to other styles of fighting or professional fighting. Let me say that. Just because like they don't punch to the face, they they don't teach parrying. They don't teach like leg conditioning. Like there's a lot of stuff that they don't teach in a lot of traditional Taekwondo schools, especially in the States. So a lot of Taekwondo guys really don't do that well in kickboxing and in MMA and things like that. Obviously there's some guys, but it's a lot of Thai guys, decent amount of karate guys. I even saw some combat wushu guys in there. There are some really good kickboxers out there that like do have a Taekwondo base, but they had to obtain a boxing base. I think with my journey, I went from karate. I started in karate, and then I went to Taekwondo. And in sport karate, you punch to the face, you blitz, you do basically a jab cross. Even though it's a back fist reverse punch, it's the same thing as a jab cross, which is what Stephen Thompson, Wonder Boy, he uses in his fight. He has that very point karate bladed stance, that good footwork, that lead leg side kick, that blitz in jab cross that he does extremely well, and that's really like the bare bones of sport karate. And it's evolved as far as like the inner workings of the game is concerned, but as far as what you need in sport karate, that's like literally the basic. It's side kick, back fist, reverse punch. That's what it is. It's blitz in, side kick, defensive reverse punch, defensive side kicks, and then you of course can add onto that. But if you want just like a bare bones kit, that's what it is. And the game has kind of sustained, and it's I wouldn't necessarily say like surpassed Taekwondo because obviously it's not an Olympic sport. I mean, the governing body for karate, like for sport karate specifically, is different than like the actual like Olympic style karate, and those are very different. I prefer like the sport karate, like the NASCAR sport karate versus the Olympic style, just because like it allows for a better quality fighter, I would say, like because you're allowed to move more freely. I've never been a fan of you have to keep this perfect like wide karate stance. Like that's not for the one. That's not for everybody, and two, it's just not realistic. Like sometimes you're gonna have to change angles. You're gonna have to move in a certain way to get away from things, or maybe you just like to be a person with a shorter stance. It just depends. Anyway, going back to Taekwondo, that that change in the game has like really kind of like pushed it even lower than it already was on like the totem pole of martial arts in one in the Olympics and then two in just in professional fighting in general. I mean, not a ton of guys are gonna be like going to Taekwondo to learn a bunch of stuff just because the way Olympic style works, it doesn't really breed fighters. You know what I'm saying? Like wrestling breeds fighters. It like because they're free. They're just built up to be super duper tough, super duper hard conditions. Boxing, similar kind of thing. And then boxing, I mean, obviously, like professional boxing is the exact same as amateur boxing. Obviously, some nuances with the rounds and things like that. But Olympic Taekwondo, I mean, you're seeing these guys like basically freaking patty cake it up every round, and then you're gonna throw this guy into like a kickboxing ring, and he's gonna get jacked up because he don't get the patty cake it up no more. Like it's just you kind of like you leave this like massive gap of information that this person has to like catch up with. And there are some people that like me, I trained in kickboxing while I was still training Taekwondo, so I made sure my hands was right. But there are a lot of people that just train Taekwondo. They never box. They never do kickboxing. They never train with Thai guys. They never train with Capoeira guys. They never train with karate people. They never train with anybody else but their Taekwondo base. And then they do Taekwondo for like 15, 20 years. And then they decide, okay, well, now I'm going to go and kickbox. And then they're getting pieced up by a boxer, or they're getting their legs kicked out from under them by a Thai person or whatever, because they're not used to that level of striking because they really weren't striking. Like, I genuinely worry about a lot of the people that are coming up in this generation of Taekwondo because I feel like they're going to be laughed at because it just looks terrible. Like, I wouldn't put, like, as far as, like, martial arts, I would put my kid in karate for a couple years. I would teach, well, first of all, I'm going to teach my kids because I have enough knowledge to teach them. But if I was to, let's just say my kid wanted to be a kickboxer, I'm going to put them in karate for a couple years. I'm going to like do some Taekwondo with them for a couple years. I'm probably going to mix those two. Then I'm going to take them and do some heavy Muay Thai training. So heavy bag work, shin conditioning, a lot of hard conditioning to make sure that they're like nice and strong. Add some boxing in there as well so that they have a full arsenal of skills. I'm not gonna put them in Olympic sparring now. Like if you like, I wish I could like put a just look it up. Just look up modern Olympic sparring, and then go to like mid 2000s. Like it's just such a big difference. Like nowadays, it just looks so bad, and it's like I know people that have been doing Taekwondo since like birth. Shout out to Barnett Taekwondo, Curtis Barnett. Shout out to those guys, and they are like, dude, what the hell is this? Like this is like they don't even want to take their students to Taekwondo tournaments. Like and then here's the super duper kicker. So I remember when I first got into Taekwondo, they used to talk so bad about karate point sparring, and now they have karate point sparring at like Taekwondo tournaments. Like really? Like come on, bro. Come on. But that is another story for another day because I don't even think I need to tell the story about me refereeing a Taekwondo tournament. But I just have to say, man, like the art itself like has lost so much luster, and I do not know if there ever has been or if there ever will be an Olympic Taekwondo champion that is able to come into MMA, come into or even like Glory Kickboxing. That's one of the bigger organizations over here. And win a championship. Like, I highly doubt it because the way that they are taught to fight in that style now, it's not really fighting. It's like playing patty cake. Like, I just don't see how it would work. But some of my Taekwondo heads might disagree with me. Some of you guys might have seen it. If you have seen someone that has won an Olympic gold medal and won a Taekwondo, flip that. Someone that's won an Olympic Taekwondo medal, there we go, and has won like a world kickboxing championship in like a modern time where you're getting mixes of styles. Like, don't give me just like an American kickboxing organization because those can be kind of foo-foo. then great. But if that hasn't happened, I highly doubt it ever will happen because like a lot of these dudes aren't taught to fight. So it is what it is, man. I mean, I pray that the game changes back some. Just because with the way it is with the electronic scoring and the way that they fight now with all this like lead leg stuff, like where they just like leaning back and just like basically fishing out with their leg. I just don't see it growing anymore, especially to gain like an audience or even just like to be able to translate into a sport like MMA. I just don't see it happening. But it is what it is, man. That is just his perspective from a lifelong martial artist, 20 plus years in the game, man. My opinion is not the same as yours, and that is perfectly fine, but we can all meet up at the table and break bread. I'm the International Sensei. This is the Entity Dojo podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening, man. Follow me on Twitter at Sensei_Global21, International_Sensei on Instagram. Thank you so much for listening, and we must now exit the dojo. Us.